Trezise, and welcome to At Home with Economics. I'm your host, Bo Garcia, Dean of Community Education and Workforce Development at Lansing Community College. At Home with Economics is a space where we explore business, workforce, and community development initiatives and how they impact our daily lives. Today we'll be interviewing a dear friend and special guest, Bob Trezise, President and CEO of the Lansing Area Economic Partnership, or LEAP. Of note, LEAP was recognized as one of the 20 top economic development organizations in the nation, receiving the prestigious 2021 Site Selection Magazine Mac Conway Award. Thanks so much, Bob, for joining us, and welcome.
Bo, I'm so pleased to be here.
So, Bob, let's get right into it. First and foremost, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from and how you came to arrive at LEAP.
Well, thank you, Bo. I'd like to tell people I'm a Lansing kid. I grew up in the city of Lansing, and I went to Cumberland, Otto, Sexton, and I am super proud of that legacy. I think the Lansing Public Schools, in my experience at Sexton, really shaped who I am today, and somebody who really understands how to get along with people and how to communicate. So I always like to thank you for inviting me to say that part of my life. It's very important. I went on to Michigan State, James Madison College graduate, and a master's degree, public administration from Western Michigan University. And then I started out at the very nuts and bolts of economic development. I started and ran a really nice program for Delta Township for 5 years. And I had a brief stint with the Regional Chamber of Commerce here, the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce, Capital Choice. 5 amazing years at Michigan Economic Development Corporation, where I got to get out of Lansing and visit Detroit and Grand Rapids and St. Ignace and Kaskaskia and Traverse City and Marquette and everywhere around the state, and learned so much about economic development. And then my whole life changed when someone I had only met once, and he was recently elected as mayor, then Mayor Bonero, called me almost out of the blue and said, a lot of people think highly of you, and would you like to run your hometown organization's economic development agency for the city of Lansing? And I broke every rule under the sun, Bo. I didn't talk to my wife. We didn't talk money. And I said yes on the spot because it was my dream job to come home. And, I thought Lansing, and not just the city, but the region, had been a little sleepy, especially as I compared it to what I'd seen for 5 years across the state in Grand Rapids and Ann Arbor and areas like that. I'm convinced, and I know I'm preaching the choir with you, Bo. We've been friends for 25 years, right? And you have been one of my greatest partners of all time in economic development. But, we've talked, I don't get it, Bo. 60 years ago, we were the same size as Columbus and Indianapolis and Madison. And that really throws people for a loop, but that's the truth of the matter. And we have the same assets that they do. We have a major university, an incredible community college, Lansing Community College, Michigan State University. We have Fortune 500 corporate headquarters here. We have state government. We have a lot of high technology companies. I mean, why did that not gel the way it did in those other communities? Now, do we want to be a community of 3 million like Columbus? No, I don't think so. But, we've been stagnant for those 60, 70 years at basically 440,000 people, 3 counties. I mean, would it be so wrong to be 600,000 or 700,000 people? Because people, that's how population is the key to economic development. And you either have enough people to sustain night in and night out nice restaurants and arts and culture and music and everything that we want in life. You have to have people to generate a sustainable level of spending, if I can be blunt about it. And the more diverse your population is, the stronger your abilities are going to be to support all kinds of business. And as it turns out, most youngish technology kinds of companies, and that's really every company now, what isn't a technology company, including in our amazing insurance headquarters that are here, they follow talent, people. So you better have population growth, and the population growth happens because you're a great place, but you have to have proper jobs. But really, most of the jobs now, the companies locate and grow where that population base is and where you're a great place. And I think that the last 10 years in our Lansing region that we've grasped that. And my last 10 years, I've been CEO of LEAP, Lansing Economic Area Partnership, which represents Ingham, Eaton, and Clinton County. Weirdly, after I ran the City of Lansing's economic development for 6 years, we brought the City of Lansing's Economic Development Department over with LEAP. So we're a regional agency, and yet we run the City of Lansing's economic development. Now we also run Ingham County's economic development and have a similar contract running the Lansing Regional Smart Zone. So we're regional, but have these individual moments. So I have an incredible wife, Carrie, we've been married 30 years next year, and 4 amazing kids. And one of them enrolled right here at LCC. And I'm super excited. And I, on the side, somehow I am a little published poet. So there's my life story. My gosh.
Excellent. Well-rounded, well-balanced. And you're right, Bob. Nobody knows a community like kind of a homegrown, native. They know where all the bumps and bruises are and the opportunities. You grow up seeing it. So nobody better at the helm than you.
Well, you can, Bo, like you really have an opportunity to build trust, which is so crucial to economic development. And sometimes a lot of economic development can be confidential situations with important companies. And as you're trying to recruit them and you're competing with other regions and other states, and sometimes you have to ask a municipal leader or others to do something for you to help put the proposal together. And yet, very weirdly, you can't tell them who or what it's for. And that requires a level of trust. And I think that has been an advantage for me being here and my family being here is there's a sense of trust. And you have that as well, Bo.
And that's a key word, Bob. I think that that's a pillar. It's integrity. And when a community is led by individuals like yourselves, we trust you. We trust the ethics of your organization. The outcomes come and it's very mutually. We feel very mutually about you and your team.
Well, Lansing Community College is one of those major assets. Your downtown Lansing, the physicality of the campus now would rival any major university in the country. And I know times have been tough the last couple of years. We're all goofed up with the pandemic and online and everything else. But the fact of the matter is I am absolutely convinced that Lansing Community College is positioned, especially with the issue of affordability of major universities and a lot of issues going on that you know so well, better than I. But I really think that this campus is going to be an absolute magnet for people. And I'm super excited what's going to happen here in the campus of LCC.
Oh, thank you, Bob. I couldn't agree with you more. We are poised for the next level.
You are.
Yeah, thank you. Now, Bob, in terms of LEAP's mission and its purpose, there have been some tremendous wins in terms of investment dollars and jobs created. Since you've been running shop. Tell us a little bit, just so listeners know, what in terms of dollars and investment, how does that look?
Well, in my 10 years at Lansing Economic Area Partnership, which represents Clinton, Eaton, and Ingham County, so we're a regional economic agency, we have scored so many companies that has totaled up to $3 billion of private investment to our region, and that has created just over 6,000 direct jobs. That does not count multiplier effects of construction jobs required for all those plants. This year alone, Bo, LEAP and our partners at Delta Township landed the Amazon Super Center facility, 1 million square feet that is under construction now and ultimately is going to be a massive amount of jobs. But we also last week announced Connect, which is Konnech, which is a really sweet software development company that we're expanding here and did a package for them. TechSmith Project, which was one of the world's great software development companies, we put that package together for them that is allowing them to build a brand new headquarters here in our region. We landed McKesson manufacturing facility. We landed a few years ago the 5th largest company from Ireland that is now the nation's largest dairy production facility up in St. John's. And so we are on a real roll. But economic development, Bo, as you know, is intentional. I think there's sometimes a perception that it just happens, or there's some handshakes, or I'm not really sure what, but the profession is very intentional and certified, and you really have to know what you're doing. Of course, you have to have a great product to pitch, the Lansing region, and we do. But so we've had great success. But Bo, that's one piece of LEAP. The other piece of LEAP is entrepreneurialism.
Right.
So I always think of economic development in terms of brick and mortar. And the brick is, of course, we're supposed to land big buildings and change skylines and add thousands of jobs and new headquarters and advanced manufacturing and technologies. We do all that. That's the brick. But the brick doesn't stand very well without the mortar. And the mortar is people in place and entrepreneurialism. And so LEAP has put in place magnificent entrepreneurial programs that our region really lacked. And there's been many partners who work on all of this stuff. So when I keep talking about LEAP, I mean all of us together. But LEAP is very common, the centerpiece or the tip of the spear. But our LEAP entrepreneurial programs are now nationally recognized.
Right.
They do a great job of diversity, equity, and inclusion in an intentional way, which is so critical to us. Our One and All program, the only way you can get in that entrepreneurial development program is to be at or below the ALICE threshold, which is essentially working poor. We have to make sure that everyone, all people, in an equitable way, not just equality, but equitable way, are participating in our economy and our society. And you have to have intentional programs and budgets and leadership and staff that does that, and we do at LEAP. But then we also do placemaking as the third bucket of LEAP, which is everything ranging from a poet laureate program from our region to putting 3 $10,000 permanent sculptures outdoors in strategic locations that helps enhance the image or a signal to people, both here and business as well, that we're sophisticated, that we're creative, and to create a great place for great people. And if you do that, again, you will, the first bucket, you'll be able to create great jobs and attract business. And that equation, that formula is working on all cylinders right now, Bo, for our region.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can see it. And to say nothing of the $182 million revitalization of the Lansing Riverfront Power Station. I think you were national number one runner-up for that that particular program.
I mean, that was 15 years ago in my other life with the city of Lansing, but I thank you for bringing that up. It's kind of the pinnacle of my career. That was a 14-story, beautiful Art Deco building that when I started working with the city of Lansing, the first editorial that greeted our new administration was, tear it down. Right. That's what you should do. That in some respects, that represented the old Lansing.
I remember.
Which was one that had maybe somewhat given up. And that eyesore on the skyline, it had a big smokestack on it, a coal pile plant next to it. It's in the heart of downtown, right on the river. Right. And by transforming that with the accident fund into a place of 600 jobs and $182 million of investment, a national headquarters, and the smokestack gone, and the environmental contamination cleaned up on the site, and the building historically reclaimed. Well, guess what? Now it's a building of possibility. It reflects on the skyline for the whole region and the city what is possible. And so that project was very symbolic of maybe a new era of economic development in the region.
You bet. And, Bob, you mentioned something about something very, very important, equity, inclusion. As it relates to, so for our listeners, why is this particular type of economic development, this type of activity important to our listeners? How does it affect their employment, their wages, their education, poverty levels, crime rate, economic development? How does that impact all?
Well, there's a lot of information about, there's quite a bit of gun violence in cities across America, including here in Lansing right now. And there's no question, everyone, what do we do? What is the cause? How do we stop it? And there is no question about it that statistically or data or analysis shows that a job in the neighborhoods is the best thing that we can do. But that takes, a lot of hard work, and it's very complex to get something like that done. But the other part of the equation is, Bo, as we all know, for 400 years, there was slavery, 300 years, and then 100 years of Jim Crow. And the discrimination and prejudice worldwide, really, but of course, including in this country, particularly savage, one could argue to some extent.
Of course.
But it's a great country, too. I mean, I don't mean to be, but we have to talk reality so we can get to a positive place.
Absolutely.
And the point of all that is rather than getting into the politics of it, is that there was a very significant segment of our society that has not had the opportunity to fully access and participate in the economy and thus this society. And the way I look at it, to be crass about it, but to try to be illustrated, is if you're a small business owner and you're about to open up your doors in the morning and you want to make money to support your family and so forth, and if there are 10 people outside your door ready to come in, what store owner in their right mind would go outside and put up their hand and say, I only would like 6 of you to come in.
Right.
The
Exactly.
4 I don't want.
Right.
I mean, who would possibly
Right.
make that economic equation in their mind?
Right.
Any store owner would want all 10.
You bet.
Who cares who they are, what they look like, where they're from, their skin color, their whatever the issues are. And so we have to make up for history, though, and to try to drive in particular or especially economic development programs from a budgetary, programmatic, and staffing perspective that helps lift up those 4 of those 10 that have been left behind for a long time, not left behind, shut out, and bring them on board. And that takes a lot of hard work, and LEAP is really good at it. And this has to be a part of our economic development progress into the future. I mean, we want the pie to be bigger, if is another way to look at it. And I don't know who would be opposed to that.
Absolutely.
But you've got to work harder to fix the damage that has been done from the past, and that is equity.
I couldn't agree with you.
And so it's all wonderful. It's great. It's not a subtraction of anybody. It's not taking away from somebody.
Right.
It's adding to everything that we already have.
Absolutely.
And I don't know who wouldn't be for that, to be frank about it.
I couldn't agree with you more, Bob. And I'll tell you, that's what I love about what LEAP does. It is about business development. It is about workforce development. It is about community development. You're absolutely right. All those contribute to the quality of life and standard of living of our community members. And that's a solution. It's a real grassroots solution. It feeds babies in the morning. I mean, it is just a tremendous.
It keeps you
thing.
in school. It keeps
Right on.
your spot on. It keeps somebody paying their rent.
Exactly.
And it keeps food in the refrigerator. And if the kid has food in their stomach in the morning, they're going to be more likely to go to school and do well in school. And all of this comes down to a job. And so now there are many other issues: housing, childcare, healthcare. I mean, all these issues is art and culture. I mean, all of these issues add up, and I think it's all about economic development.
I do too.
And it's just I try to, Bo, explain that economic development. I know it's public perception or reputation is about big business and developers, and all that. And of course it is. I mean, except there's one big difference. That's a means to an end.
Absolutely.
And actually, the profession of economic development was created so to improve the prosperity and the well-being of the community, your hometown that you represent, and the people within it.
Absolutely.
So economic development is connecting, a means to an end. We want to make sure that we're a great community for business to grow, and we want to make sure that we're a great place for entrepreneurs and developers. But at the end of the day, our ultimate mission is, did all that add up to a better and greater place for the community, and especially all people within that community? And for us, that's Ingham, Eaton, and Clinton County.
Bob, beautifully said. And I couldn't agree with you more. You just nailed it. And that just speaks to the critical nature of the work that you do. And I just want to say thank you as a friend and a colleague for all the hard work you and your team do. Absolutely stellar. So we'll just, if you're okay, we'll bring you back another time and we'll talk a little bit more. But thank you so much, Bob, for taking time to talk to our listeners today. And thank you all for the pleasure and privilege of your time. This has been your host, Bo Garcia, and I look forward to sharing time with you again soon.